Hey, what's up, friends? This is another one with Fun with Azure. This is part 20 with Purview part 3. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the results of the scan that we did last time and look a bit more at, the general topic of asset curation, sorry. So we basically scanned those artifacts, right, and we populated our data map by doing so. But now it's, hey, what is that? What we scanned, right? What how do we understand this, right? And how does it help us to organize our data estate better, or drive business value from it? That I think that's the main thing that I want to point out. There is a capability in Purview called Data Estate Insights, and I think it's called now Data Stewardship. Here you can actually see a screenshot of it. And it's still in preview when I made this screenshot, but actually in I think in the last 2-3 days they removed this, so now it's no longer in preview. But this is basically the location within the Purview Studio GUI where you can get this information on what is curated, what is partially curated, what is not curated, and obviously if you have your data estate scanned initially, there's going to be a lot of items that's not going to be curated, right? Because Purview doesn't know like owners of your data assets. So this is where a data steward comes in, or the role of a data steward comes in and helps Purview to make those decisions. So I'm going to show you more just in a second in the GUI. I also want to spend some time, this is probably going to be next time again, but some time on scanning, because scanning is important. There's a couple of gotchas and details you need to understand, or think about how much you want to scan. The scanning rules that you want to apply, you can actually create your own, because that all has an impact, and you need to kind of understand also how often you want to scan. The more frequent, the more you want to scan, the pricier it's going to be, right? Because obviously that's more work to be done. And so we definitely want to hit an optimum here, but let's move forward with the data estate for today, and then let's see where we at with the other pieces when we come out. So Purview Studio, right? This is nothing new. You guys saw this. And then let's have a look at the data map. I did enhance it a bit, but nothing really fancy. I think I added another collection called marketing. There's no source registered yet beneath marketing, but I did basically the finance collection that I already had last time has now basically two data sources, a storage account and a SQL database source, right? Let me really quick, this is kind of important too before we get to the data insights or data estates insights over here. Let me go here into a few details. Here you can see that we have now two sources, and one of them is SQL, one of them is the data lake store. But that's also important. Within the source of SQL, we have two databases, right? I actually have two scans now. There's two databases, and that's another thing that sometimes when I browse through this, looking at this stuff and thinking of, hey, what does that even mean here? It took a bit of time to get to that point. But once you play a bit with this, then things get quite clear. So that's that. And then what else do we have here? So when I go to the SQL, Azure SQL, I can obviously go here a few details, and then I get basically to the same dialog, and I see the scans here. see all applied scans. Good. So what I want to go in, this is scanning. We'll need to talk more about this, but after the scanning is done, right? We have some output, right? If you will, right? So imagine you scanned your data estate, and not just a single database, right? You would have hundreds of thousands of assets here, and a large chunk of them would be not curated, right? And then it's really the process now is, and I think this requires a bit planning up front. The process now is, how do we get the important ones curated, right? And because the curated ones are the ones that you can eventually certify, right? And I'm purposely making a distinguish here between curated, not curated, and certified. So in my mind, and this could be debatable, right? An artifact can be curated, but it could still not be certified for certain types of operations or processes within your organization, right? So that's definitely an important concept. We'll get to that in more detail, but you need to think about that for sure. And I feel like this is not so much a technical task. This is more like a process, business, people type of task to understand sort of a nomenclature around this. There is some good links to that discussion, and I'm gonna point them into the video description. Put them there, but you need to think through some of that, right? Okay, so so now when I look at here I see not curated, I have 23, no, I have a total number of 23 assets, right? In my specific example here, and then I have 19 not curated. And keep in mind this report is a bit outdated. It actually does not refresh right away. And there's some information here, 3 to 8 hours latency, right? So keep that in mind. And then here I have 2 assigned owners. Okay, so this is and 21 have no owners. Obviously, that's not good. So let me just go through this real quick and see. And even if I changed something in the meantime, I think I did when I played with this. But we can have a look. So if I change anything now, and let me make sure. Let me go back here. Let me make sure you saw where I clicked. So if I scroll down here, I see this view details button here, right? So. And I can also go here. This is also good. This is sort of an aggregation. And when I hover over those, there's actually, when I go to the header, there's a tooltip sort of popping up. And then there's a link in there that allows me to go to the Fully Curated section. Okay. So you just need to be a bit patient till this pops up. And then you see that kind of, okay, fully curated, partially curated, not curated. And then the assets, and then I can, from here, I mean, there's different ways to get there, right? But from here I can drill in. And then I have the customers. Okay. So now let me choose a table. And I can just show you real quick, basically, actually, I already did do this for the customer table. Let me show it to you on that one. Now, because it's currently not, because it takes 3 to 8 hours to update, it's currently not showing in the actual numbers of the Purview insights, but it will update once it's next time refreshing that report. And unfortunately, we as Purview users cannot really impact this, right? But what I did with that customer table, just to give you an idea, to have a table curated in the sense of Purview, right? And I'm purposely saying in the sense of Purview. There's actually a link to this topic here, Get Insights into Data Stewardship from Microsoft Purview, right? So I'm putting that into the video as well. when you scroll down here a little bit, it shows the whole process, but the main part is here. An asset is fully curated if it has at least one classification tag, an assigned data owner, and a description. So most well, no asset has a assigned data owner after a scan right away. You may have a classification tag, but not an owner, and you also don't have a description, unless something was done programmatically and set up with the load to make that work. But typically, you don't have the owner and the description. So by default, they only partially curated, right? The assets. So a data steward's job now is to go in and curate them, right? By adding an owner, adding a description at a table level, right? Not at a column level, right? So that's the task. And, go through that link here. This is really quite a helpful link. So what I did here then is use the customer table, which is currently not one of those curated tables. And I added a classification, and you do that by going to the table here and then hit that edit button that changes this, and then you can actually add stuff. And see, here's the age of the individual, and I can add another one, and then I can say here is more of that. This is basically more of description, and then I could say save. Right, and then it's that. Now, obviously, the contacts are also important, and you can see I have an owner. I do not have an expert, right? So Purview does not require me to have an expert to based on that definition, right? To have an expert, there's nothing mentioned here on an expert, only the owner, right? Now, that's Purview's definition, and the focus here is primarily on you gotta manage it somehow, and with an owner there's organizational responsibility for it, right? Without an owner, it's like, hey, who even cares, right? Now there's also the concept, and I think this is really important, there's also the concept of certification or certified. You can see that here. And when you hover over that information link, certified an asset to indicate it meets your organization's quality stands. I guess there should be quality standards or something, and can be regulated, regarded as reliable, right? So obviously. You can manually switch this to yes. I'm not going to do that for now, but then you could actually also have it certified. And certified would in the search is a category that you can search for, right? So you may have some reports that can only go into production with certified data sources, right? And otherwise you will not get permission to deploy to production, those type of things. Now, I just want to be clear, right? Curated and certified, they two different things, two different concepts. In my mind, curation comes before certification, right? So, keep in mind when we look at Purview, and especially that map here, right? So we're doing cataloging right now, but we're not talking data quality. So if some of these attributes in the customer table are like classified as, hey, this could be a phone number or this could be a name, but the name is written wrong, right? From a curation's perspective, nobody would care, right? But from a data quality perspective and downstream consumption perspective, I would care for sure, right? So those are the two different concepts here that I just wanted to point out. And then I think this kind of makes this a bit clearer on how to read this dashboard. There is a way, I think it's already available actually, to use this. This is built-in reports, right? And you know, built-in reports are built-in reports, right? I think there is a way to use this information also in Power BI and build something more custom, and that's probably something that we need to look at down the road. But I mean, this is a good starting point, right? And here we have, just to have a look here real quick, on that chart here we see the total number of assets. And again, right, we see a relatively low number here because I'm just scanning like 2 SQL databases. But, you know, a real data estate has hundreds, thousands of tables in just a single source system. And, you know, if we scan multiple environments, multiple large systems, easily you're looking at thousands of assets here, right? So that's going to be quite comprehensive. And then here it basically shows the no owner assigned, right? So, okay, obviously not so good. And then no classification, right? So, and then we can look at that, and not curated is the blue line. It's probably somewhere hidden behind the other ones that are visible here. But so eventually, as we go to the right, this is the progressing time, July 1st, 2nd, etc. We want to see this no classification and no owner assigned line going further down, right? So therefore improving, so that we can basically have this that data estate, we have it curated more and more and taken care of. And I think there needs to be then, you know, when I think of, you know, from a process perspective, there needs to be then more like policies around, you know, how frequently do we scan, when do we review the scans, when do we add owners, when do we have to have this done by, etc., etc. I think those are important pieces to that. Okay, so a lot of information, I know. Let me look here real quick. There was one other piece of information in the help that I really thought would be of value for you to spend some time on. And I think it's that one here, business process for managing data effectively. This is a bit more higher level, but it's still, it spoke to me. Because at the end of the day, there's definitely a big component of processes and people involved, and the data curator organizational personas. It's right mentioned here. So really spend some time on this, and then I like those like visualizations here. So capturing asset metadata, right? So here, you know, collection admin. And this is sort of the role, right? So the collection admin defines and agrees collection structure, then configure collection structure in Purview, assigns the data source admins for collection, and then assign data curator and data reader roles for collection. So this is sort of technical pre-work, organizational and technical pre-work. And then identify and prepare data source to catalog, register data source in relevant classification, and, you know, go through that step here. Ingest the relevant source into collection by scanning or API. So this is what we did basically last time, and then review the assets scanned into the collection, assign individuals responsible for managing the assets. So this is that owner concept that we did. And then review and update asset metadata, right? So 9 and 10 is that management circle that takes place all the time, because most likely you're gonna get more and more sources in, so you need to spend time on that management process. And obviously that quality process also needs management, but that's something that comes later then. But spend some time on this as well. I find these helpful. There's also a process for the glossary and the classification maintenance, which we haven't even talked about in detail. There is quite a bit of material out there, but just wanted to share this. All right, my friends, hope that was helpful, and talk to you soon again. Cheers, guys.